It is your Classic Metal Show right here on theclassicmetalshow.com. That is a song called Last Patrol. That is the title track from the brand new record from this guy, one of my favorites, the one, the only Monster Magnet. And on the phone right now, we've got the lead man of Monster Magnet, Mr. Dave Wyndorf. Dave, how are you, man?
What's happening, dude? I'm very good, thank you.
Excellent, dude. Well, Dave, got to tell you, man, once again, in typical Monster Magnet fashion, a very, very cool, very, very rockin' record, man. Congratulations once again.
Thanks, I appreciate it greatly.
Well, listening to the record, Dave, the one thing that stands out to me personally is that Last Patrol seems like it's just a little bit more raw than Mastermind. It just doesn't. It seems a little bit more one take-ish, I guess. You know?
Yeah. I mean, it was planned. It's not one take-ish, but it was planned to sound one take-ish. You know. I wrote this stuff with leaving holes open for interpretation, jamming.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like I want this stuff to be to sound more like our live show's been sounding, which have been increasingly more psychedelic every time out.
Sure.
You know, and I did it at home. You know, there wasn't a big producer deal. It was kind of created with the intention of being raw.
Okay. Excellent. And so does that mean that you didn't necessarily feel like Mastermind was quite as translatable to the live setting?
You know, it started out that way, but because I ran out of time, I kind of pulled some producer tricks with my old producer Matt Hyde that kind of make finishing these things easy. Okay. And it's editing and stuff like that, and it sounded okay, and the live version of the song sounded okay, but the end result of Mastermind was just a little bit too slick.
Sure.
For my taste.
Okay.
You know, I tend to get dirtier as I get older. So, you know, it's like, all right,
sure.
You know, we got to do it this way, and no cleaning up unless absolutely necessary. If the stuff sounded good the way it was going down, it's going to sound good in the mix later.
Excellent. Well, not that this is a new change, it's like a 5-year-old change, but I don't think I've talked to you since then, is that you brought Garrett Sweeney in to take over for Ed Mundell after so many years with you and Ed being, basically writing partners. How has the sound changed, you know, in both the writing and the recording, or how's the music changed,
well,
I guess?
I mean, Ed was never my writing partner. I write all the stuff in Magnet, you know. I write the leads, I write those stuff, you know. So Ed took direction. His leads were written by me.
Okay.
You know, like an idiot, I'd sing them like, you know, like this, and then I'd take his stuff and edit it, depending on what he was grooving on, and place it in the record, depending on where it was necessary. Well, I'm a pretty hands-on guy, you know, with Magnet, so
sure.
Pretty overbearing as far, you know. I try to write everything.
Okay.
That's what I hear in my head. So Ed was cool with that, and Ed's a fantastic guitarist in his own right. But Ed tended to meander a lot, and I wasn't happy with that. Okay. He was more on the blues side of things and not on the action part. I was more about action leads, you know, like get right to the meat. And but we had a good relationship. I mean, you know, Ed was cool. He'd show up in the studio and do what he did. With Garrett and Phil, and this is more important on this record, that Phil did most of the leads on this record.
Okay.
Phil Cavani also played all the bass on the record, too. I started going with the people within the band that understood what I was saying.
Okay.
You know, who agreed, you know, basically understood what I was saying and kind of put it down the way I was imagining it. So it's been better with Ed out.
Okay.
You know, the last couple of records with Ed were really kind of pulling teeth with him. I don't think he's happy.
Okay, yeah, and
same old rock story, you know. I'm not happy. I want to do something else, and now he's doing something else, which is really cool.
No, and that's cool, man. And the interesting thing for you with Monster Magnet is it just seems like you have kind of almost expanded creatively. Not that you weren't before, but you know, some of those tweener records in your career started to sound a little bit the same, where it does seem like you've expanded
you know
a
what
lot.
happens? Like you get on the train, man. I mean, you get on the rock train and you tour the world for 3 years and then make a record. Like you make a record, tour for 3 years, tour for 2.5 years, make another record. Sometimes those tweeners get funky because there's not a lot of time to put them together. That's where art turns into commerce. That's the big crazy story of rock and roll and all this stuff. You know, a lot of kids are home thinking that every band goes into the studio knowing exactly what they want to do, but they don't realize that there's no time. You can't be in a functional rock band and make a great record every time out. It's impossible. No one's ever done it.
Sure.
I can't think of one band that's made like 10 records that hasn't one stinker in there. Because the whole adventure of the whole rock and roll thing is to try to do it all at the same time, which is crazy. Mm-hmm. But in my case, I always tried to keep everything interesting. I wasn't happy, and I always tried to do different things. Like, you know, I did a couple psychedelic records, and I wanted to do a couple like fist in the air rock records.
Sure.
And more or less successful in most of that stuff in my head, but the records didn't always have that whole vibe that I wanted. This time, coming after Mastermind, which I wasn't disappointed with at all, I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and I just told everybody, I said, I'm done building records around touring schedules. I'm just going to stop everything, make the record, and then we'll worry about the tour.
So it almost sounds then like, you know, back when you had your biggest success with Space Lord, that probably really was probably an unhappy time. I mean, certainly you were happy to have the success, but at the same time it was an unhappy time because it jammed your career up into the machine pretty hard. Yeah,
it really does. And you know what's really funny, man? It's like that's just the way it goes.
Mm-hmm.
At first I was like, fuck, you know, on one hand, it was fantastic because we're getting all this work and like running around the world and everything's going on. People are paying attention, but I can feel in my head, like, when is there going to be time to actually make a cool record? You know, when do you actually get the time to dream shit up? There's no more goofing off time.
Sure.
You're on a schedule, like that machine, that rock machine schedule.
Sure, there definitely isn't. Well, and that's one of the cool things about Last Patrol for me is that you really have some songs that, even by your own standards, stretch things. I'll point to Three Kingfishers as a perfect example. That song is about as different as anything in your catalog for you.
Well, you know why? Because it's not my song.
Oh, really?
That's why. Yeah, I picked it on purpose. It's a Donovan song.
Oh, no kidding.
That's a Donovan song from '66, which is originally like a really mellow tune.
Okay.
And what I did was I rewrote it musically to have both the original delicate sitar psych thing, but plus a big old like slopping sludge rock part to it.
Sure.
So yeah, take a listen to the original Donovan, you'll see what I mean.
Okay.
And I picked that because it was so different. I was like, this is different.
Definitely.
This has got to be in there.
Well, let me ask you, Dave, one of the things that I've noticed, certainly in the last 10 years, and really right now, and I'll point everything to like, a band like Vistacino / Caius Lives, whatever you want to call them today,
yeah, hell yeah.
is that style of music, that stoner sludge rock, is probably gaining more momentum than it has in at least 10 years right now.
I know. I love it. I'm loving it.
What do you think changed? I mean, and especially here in the U.S., because the music has always been fairly good, you know. I mean, certainly there's good bands and bad bands, but it doesn't seem like the sound or the style has changed at all. But all of a sudden, people are into it now. Why do you think that is?
You know, I wish I knew, man. I mean, if I knew, I could rule the world. If I knew what made people like different things, I could rule the world. But I could tell you one thing. I think people are getting tired of people who listen to loud music are getting tired of the old pointy head stock fucking death metal shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's stupid. It's turning into makeup rock. Everybody's got a gimmick. Everybody's got makeup on. They're all trying to act like hard asses, but they look like they're little kids going out for Halloween.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's stupid.
It definitely is, man. I'm with you.
Stupid. You know what I mean? It's like when you're 13 years old or 16, that stuff is badass. But once you get past that age, it just looks like a bunch of fucking idiots standing up there in makeup. And the music sounds the same. You know?
Right.
How many blast beats can you fucking endure?
Right. Yeah, especially in the show.
And they don't innovate. There's no natural tone. It's like this. I could go on and on, but it's just like this wall of fucking high-end with these super Pro Tools, I mean really super computer Pro Tool tight drum parts. Really powerful, really effective live. But if you listen to that shit for too long, there's so little inconsistency. They're so tight that your imagination flatlines.
Yeah. No.
And you're like, yeah, I heard this before. And then you look at the cover. Yeah, I've seen this logo before. Yeah, I've seen this guy with the skull face before. Yeah, this guy's got a badass name. I think that may be what's happening. I think there's a certain segment of loud music people who are looking for something that's a little gnarlier, a little bit more organic.
Sure.
And they're finding it in stoner rock, and they may be finding it in other places too. And that's good because, I mean, never thought of people listening to loud music being conformist.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just doesn't strike me as the same thing. But sometimes in metal, things get conformist, and I was like, what are these little badass Republican people? Like they shouldn't be so accepting.
Right.
You know?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Well, anyway, so that's one guess, and the other guess is that there's a whole generation of young people that grew up on the internet, and they can go back. And they could backtrack music history and pick out stuff that they like and pick what they're going for.
Sure.
But that's a whole new game. That's
Absolutely.
a whole new. You don't know what's going to happen with that.
Right.
All I know is that the variations in loud music, the more variants, the better.
I agree.
So I'm happy.
I definitely agree with you there. Well, in this musical climate, what kind of expectations do you have in today's world, putting out an album? I mean, do you even put it out thinking, okay, well, I need to sell X or Y, or do you just put it out so that you have a vehicle to tour with, or what?
Yeah, that's a really good question, man, because this is uncharted territory, completely, different than the way it used to be. Why do you make an album now? Like, why? I think it's turned into, on the economic side, it used to be you tour to sell your new album.
Right.
You make your money from the album. You tour to support that album. And now that music is kind of vaporized the minute it comes out, it's just like, it's atomized, like, it goes out everywhere for free or whatever.
Right.
And there are only a certain amount of people that actually buy the physical product. They're really into it. But you don't have to buy it if you don't want to.
Right.
So now it's turned into, economically, you kind of make an album to support the tour. Different. So that can go two ways. A lot of bands that I see make shitty albums so they can continue to sell T-shirts forever.
Right.
But there are people who are really, really still into the album format, that are really into music, most of them young, that are still and they still want to have an album. They don't care if, of course they care if people steal it or whatever, but they're going to make it regardless, They're driven to make a collection of music, not just a couple of songs. So it's going both ways. All I could say about it is I'm into music. I like to make albums, and I'll fucking make them.
Sure.
I'll try to make them as good as I can for as long as possible. We've never been a huge merch band. We've never been the whole, I've never done the whole, win a dinner date with Dave Wyndorf, and, and I don't charge for autographs and all that stuff that all these bands are doing now. It's just highly illegal, dude. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's really illegal.
So,
setting up and charging for autographs and meet and greets and stuff. What is this?
Come on, man.
Is this Hollywood or something? So I just live in my own little universe, making records, pretending that I still live in my room in 1972.
Nice.
And hope that some people will get into it.
So there's no $600 special Monster Magnet VIP package I can buy?
No, not yet. But maybe something. If I start really, really losing money, you may see me at the end of my career with a big white beard going, "Come on, who wants to sit on Santa Claus's lap? That'll be $10."
I could just see the caption now, the special Space Lord package.
Oh yeah, believe me, I laugh about it all the time. I make up all these packages in my head, but I just can't bring myself to do it. It just seems so fucking illegal. The rock police are going to come and arrest me.
God says no, but Dave says yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Too funny, man. Well, dude, let me ask you a fairly hard one, and it's you can tell me you don't want to answer it if you want to, but
sure.
No real secret that in the past you've battled with substance abuse, and certainly you've heard with other bands that have as well, like Metallica's or Aerosmith or whatever, that many believe that they were better when they were using. I don't think that with you specifically, only because you've continued the variety of different music. But I'm curious for you personally, once you got to where you were in a comfortable place, with your Demons, did you have to relearn to write and create music, or
no,
or
not
was
at
it
all.
natural?
No, in fact, it came back to me more. I never was a guy who was like into the whole like I'm going to get high and create magic.
Right.
You know what I
okay.
mean? It's like I think that's nonsense. I think that's a romantic notion.
Okay.
You know, I mean, and it's a really good notion. I mean, everybody wants to cheat. You know, everybody wants a magic pill to be cool. You know, something. I'll take this psychedelic drug, and my mind will open, and the art will flow. That's fucking horse shit. It's horse shit.
Right.
You know what happens when you take drugs and make a lot of music? You sound like the Grateful Dead. That's what you'll sound like.
Right.
You know, I mean, really, seriously. So, if you're going to write psychedelic music to do psychedelic drugs, of course. But
Sure.
you sing about your experience. You don't sing about it when you're on it.
Right.
That's like an airplane pilot flying on LSD.
Right.
That's my thing.
Sure.
Experience life no matter what it is, whether it be drugs, whether it be jumping out of an airplane, whether it be getting in a car accident, maybe having a psychosexual relationship with a maniac girl,
Right.
going to orgies, going to Europe and losing your mind, whatever. You sing about that experience
Right. Right.
with a clear head because you can remember, you can put it all together.
Sure.
I think what's happened over the years with the, better while using that whole debate is that drugs tend to make people uninhibited,
Sure.
and a lot of stuff that they would hold back would come out while they're high.
Okay.
But what they don't realize is that if they could get over that inhibition without the drugs, then their clear mind would produce even more.
Mm-hmm.
So, who knows what would happen if, Charlie Parker, the famous heroin addict, bebop fucking
Right.
master, had not done heroin. He probably would have been just as badass. He would have come to grips with his own psychological demons and made better stuff. I know it makes for a lousy story. Everybody loves the fucking Hendrix was a genius and then he OD'd. But that's not for me. I can't do it. You know?
Well, and it would be one thing if your music had changed drastically. That's the only one that really jumps to mind is Aerosmith.
Yeah.
That there could be credence to it only because they went from being such a badass band to being such a chick band. But
I know. But you got to remember, like, all the bad stuff with Aerosmith when they were using, like, they made some pretty fucking bad albums while they were using too.
Yeah,
It's not like they made like Get Your Wings and then all of a sudden, went into rehab.
Right.
They made, well, it was After Rocks or something. I don't want to get into it specifically, but they made a lot of bad music.
Right. Done with Mirrors or whatever, right?
Yeah, while they were using.
Right.
And then when they came back and they were all cleaned up, yeah, I guess it was a little tame.
I hear you, man.
I don't know. I'm no expert, Here I am blowing long and hard about this shit. I don't know. All I know is about myself. But I have a feeling that in most people who write and create music, these are sensitive people, no matter what their image are. They're usually sensitive people, and they usually have a hard time getting over certain inhibitions, and they want to unlock their mind or some way or another, or cover up for pain. When they unlock those inhibitions and cover up the pain, good stuff comes out.
Right.
But it doesn't come out forever with the drugs.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'd have a better chance because the drugs start to destroy you. That's the joke.
Right.
They opens it up for a little while and then the door shuts on you.
Mm-hmm.
So, if there was some way they could get over it and still maintain the aggro fucking passion that they had while they were on it and before they were on it, that's the way to go.
Right. Well, Dave, before I let you go, I need to ask you what is known as the traditional classic metal show question. We literally ask everybody this one. We've asked over 1,000 bands this at this point, and you may have an answer, you may not. How has Lemmy from Motorhead influenced your career?
Well, just by being there.
Okay.
It's like, turning your head towards a fantastic mountain range. You go, thanks God the Matterhorn is there.
Sure.
It's like Mount Everest.
Right.
Just the fact that he's there
Mm-hmm.
just influences me. It makes me feel better.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's like, there he is. He's you ever feel bad? What would Lemmy do?
Maybe those are the wristbands we should start making. There's
Yeah,
our million
totally.
seller. What would Lemmy do?
Yeah.
Nice. Well, Dave, the brand new album, as we said at the beginning, is called Last Patrol. It is, it's out in October, right?
Yeah, October 15th.
Right. So people should definitely check it out if you're a fan of good old-fashioned kick-ass rock. I don't even want to put the stoner rock label on it. I'll just say if you like rock, you'll like this. Cause
rock.
It
capital
does,
letters.
Right. Because it does
And you should actually buy the CD to everybody you don't like because there's money inside it. I personally put $50 bills in each one of them. So if you buy them, you'll open it up, there's a $50 bill in there.
Yeah, there you go. There's incentive.
Lie.
Nice.
Huge lie.
Well, Dave, why don't you pick a track off of the album and tell us a quick story about it to wrap this one up?
Oh yeah, well let's do Three Kingfishers because you got me psyched up on that.
Right.
This Three Kingfishers is a song. It's Donovan's song, but it's one I wanted to I tried to reinvent a 1966 pure psychedelic song into like a total stomping Sabbath type rocker. Because I always thought those two kind of music could go together. It doesn't sound like they can, but I think they do.
Sure.
So, and listen to Bob's drums at the end. They're insane.
Absolutely. Well, let's check it out right now. This is Three Kingfishers. It's Monster Magnet right here on your Classic Metal Show.